Hello, I'm Janelle Duvall.
I'm Kelly Walsh.
And this is video number 2 of the National Arts Center series on our collaboration as Eastern Owl and Lady Cove. Yeah. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the amazing projects that we've done together.
So we talked about our beginnings in the previous video and how we started through a collaboration with the Shalloway Kids and the National Arts Center Orchestra. The next project that we actually did together was Shalloway. 2 years ago we had our 25th anniversary, and to celebrate 25 years we wanted to bring together a couple of different groups or artists that have really made a big impact on the organization. So we invited a choral conductor from Western Canada who had helped us organize some of our tours, especially a tour to South Africa, and we invited one of the members of the vocal group Ryoton, who has had a big impact on the kids and on music and choral music in Newfoundland in general. And we also wanted to invite Eastern Owl because of the work that we had done with them and how impactful that had been and how much we had grown together through that first experience. And so we had an incredible concert where Eastern Owl came and they did a set on our Shalloway 25th anniversary show, and then they actually wrote some of the pieces that they had done. They wrote the music for the kids to join and sing with them, and I believe then the kids also sang on the CD as a result of that project.
So what was really interesting about that was it was the first time Eastern Owl had really scored any of our music, and it wasn't like a possibility we had considered before because of our oral traditions as First Nations people. We hadn't really attempted scoring our music to see what it would look like on a sheet. And so Natasha Blackwood, who's one of the members of Eastern Owl, she spent some time and she put some love and some care into scoring the music so that this time when we approached the kids, they would actually have a way of learning that was more familiar, and it was the compositions were a little more complex than our first kind of project together. And we also received some input from Kelly and from Jen around kind of, I think Natasha kind of worked with you on the scores.
Yeah, we all worked together.
We all worked together to reflect kind of like the magnitude of what Shalloway could offer a piece that Eastern Owl had
I'm
composed.
Remembering that now. I had forgotten that Natasha at one point, we were in the first rehearsal and you had said, I want something really high there. Can you do this? I think it was in Child Protection?
Yes.
The song, and so you said, I want to feel something really even higher than I had heard you had heard before. Yeah. And then so
we added that on the spot. Yeah. So what ended up happening was during the chant, so the song Child Protection was actually written in English and then had chant. It was a really beautiful composition, and I had heard a voice that we hadn't been able to achieve kind of in the back of my mind, and I said, I wonder if one of the youth from Shalloway could achieve a really super high note there to add to the composition. I think it was Sarah. Yeah. Who sang it, and it just blew us all away. So, I mean, when you're talking about collaborations, that kind of like in-person interaction and kind of lending our skills to each other and marrying kind of the two styles of music really shone through in those pieces we worked on with the kids. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we, and I'm remembering now too, in the concert, it was really amazing because the kids, I think originally we probably wanted the music scored because we were trying to learn more than one or two pieces. Like we did a bunch of pieces. So I said, if I had the score, I could teach them the notes before you came in, so that they didn't have to learn, you know, it didn't have to take up too much of your time, and we were able to kind of learn the notes quickly. So, you know, by you know, kind of that need for them to learn a lot of music a bit more quickly in the score, but then it offered that whole opportunity to build like on the piece of other things that you wanted to hear when you heard the kids' voices and stuff. That was really cool.
So I think like one of the considerations when you're looking at collaborations like that is kind of being able to schedule two different groups with two different schedules at the same time, and like having the scores really allowed us and the choir the freedom to kind of rehearse on their own time. Yeah. And I think that the trust that we built in our first collaboration allowed us to kind of give the piece over to Kelly and Shalloway to kind of work with that and trust that it would be to what we what we anticipated, and like that original idea of the piece was honored through our relationship. So I think that was really important. Child protection was interesting because it was another opportunity for the choir to learn about a really tough subject matter that is faced by Indigenous communities all the time, and the power of having hundreds of children. It was hundreds, right?
Yeah, it was a big mass piece, so we would have had about 150. So every child from junior high and high school.
Yeah. Lend their voice to this piece, so it really put the power into the piece that we had envisioned originally. The children's voices amplified the message of the song. And so in hearing that, we decided when we were recording it, the importance of keeping those voices in the piece. So it actually allowed us to record Shalloway on our album Hamasi, which was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You brought the, I remember you brought the whole, the sound people in and all the gear, and the kids felt like they were superstars and working on that, and yeah, it was amazing. So that was probably our second project, and then, you know, by that time we decided that we'd go out for a coffee and talk about the possibilities with Lady Cove.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, you know, where we had some ideas, but again, it was just more sitting down and talking about what the possibilities were and what kind of the interests were, and in that first conversation we thought about, well, we'd love to do a video together based on this piece of music, and also a full concert together.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that led to that.
I think that how that came to be, like the concert and the piece of music called Warrior, was that Kelly and I think Natasha was there, we sat around and we talked about the common themes that Lady Cove and Eastern Owl had. And that was really about sisterhood and female empowerment and women's empowerment. And I think that when you presented us with the piece, we quickly realized that a lot of our goals as groups kind of aligned in that regard. Like, we want to lift women up. How do we do this? How do we express this in collaboration? And that's kind of how Warrior came to be. Yeah.
It was, the piece itself was a choral piece, and I know I had always heard the piece, and I was so affected by it. And I played it for you guys too, and I think the first hearing of it, you thought it was really powerful too, and it kind of said, like you said, it said all of those things. And then for our concert that we did together, we were going to do Warrior, that piece, and then we thought maybe we'd do 2 or 3 other pieces together, arrangements of Eastern Owl, and then Lady Cove would do a set, and Eastern Owl would do a set. And I think for me the most incredible thing was, once myself and the women started listening more to all of the music that all the tunes that you guys have done and recorded, and then once Eastern Owl came to a first rehearsal and heard the women's voices, it was kind of like, well, can we do this piece together, and what about this piece, and what about this piece? And so we actually, in that Warrior concert, I think we did 10 pieces together.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was so amazing.
It was incredible. And I mean, in working with the women again, we had very different styles of learning and creating. So, I mean, Eastern Owl came in, and again, we had the women put their papers down, and Stacey House had written this beautiful chant for Warrior. And I remember you had to reach out to the sisters, the Weird Sisters, right?
Yeah.
To ask permission to kind of change the song, because the song was really reflective of all generations of women and female empowerment, but there were some cultural differences in how the Weird Sisters had originally reflected that narrative, and how we as First Nations women view that narrative. And so we did rearrange the piece a little bit, some of the lyrics, and added this beautiful chant. And we were so honored that the Weird Sisters were up for that change and for that challenge and that collaboration. And so I think it turned into a very beautiful piece. And that was included in the concert. The concert was killer. Like, it was amazing. We blew the roof off the place. It was so cool.
And I remember with one of the tunes, you were like, I hear brass in this. And I was like, well, we happen to have a couple of brass players. Would you like to try that? So it was just amazing. But, you know, you talk about the building of relationship and the building and having chats and stuff. You know, having that long time, because I think, you know, this wasn't like for me, it wasn't like a collaboration with some other people where you're like, okay, let's do this concert, here are the 3 rehearsals, well, here's your dress rehearsal and stuff. But because we did so much talking and listening to music together and choosing and building and growing, like I think that's really part of the reason why it was so powerful, the show, because it wasn't just, I'm going to pick these 4 tunes, we're going to do them together and I'll see you at the dress rehearsal in a couple of, it was really developing the sound together and all of the different layers of, well, wouldn't it be amazing if I heard a trumpet on this, or wouldn't it be, it was so great. And so in that concert, we got a beautiful recording, a live recording of us singing Warrior together, and I was even more excited about the video project. And then we got together, and it took a long time for us to work between so many people, between the producer and the camera people and all, like Eastern Owl and Lady Cove. But again, because of that time and the process and the back and forth, and you know, I think because of that, the video is like, it's really powerful.
It is a powerful video. I think that the end result was super beautiful and impactful, and a lot of people saw it, and there was a lot of good feedback on it. I think that process is one of the most difficult processes that we had in regards to collaborating, because I think creatively we are very different as groups, and there was, you know, opinions and differences in the vision. I think what we all could agree on was that we wanted this video to represent many different diverse groups of people, and that's what we landed on, and it turned out to be this amazing video, which we're going to show you now.
Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, any comments, please be in touch. Our 3rd video will be on challenges.